by herself. If he helps, she could get it done in a week. ¿Y cuánto se ve? She gets 100 pesos for this. For a week and a half. Okay, so that's how much money? Like $7 for a week's day.
Excuse me.
Anita, by the way, speaks Nahuatl. So I was asking her if she could say a phrase or two just so you can hear it. Okay, una frase o dos en Nahuatl. Sí, Amatl. Amatl. Una frase en Nahuatl.
Yo le digo.
Okay.
Mira, en Nahuatl.
Ajá.
Mira, ni tocha, como no chiva y pa Oaxaca, no tocha yo y toda Velaguetza. Cada noche participará en Oaxaca, noche pueblitos. Con ni tocha, cada zapotecos, así mixteco, noche participará. Mira, yo toca mi Oaxaca, la Velaguetza. No la mitilo y para los pueblos, no la micha cada sea no la micha, y cosas y estufa y que tu checo que salió que te decir de manejar ni tocha no pero los pueblos ni tocha y toca chilenos como esa te paga mejor ni tocha no está que ya de Sihuame que tacó noche ni titaya que sa te micha llega montañas o que tacó gata pisca cada vez no hay mucho hacer que la peche te voy a tapisque con no pueblo con chiva ahora no pueblo San Agustín guapa.
En español. Okay, now the Spanish. Pero gracias
Mira, por ejemplo, aquí como ya vimos aquí en Oaxaca se festeja la fiesta la Guelaguetza que hoy es en julio.
Okay, so he says now that we're living here in Oaxaca, they come from Guerrero, the neighboring state. After living here, they started to paint the Guelaguetza because it's always going on here in July, and they're here, they're selling here. So the tourists come and they just added a little bit there.
Por ejemplo, aquí es una boda.
Here's a wedding.
En mi pueblo, cuando se casa una muchacha, le dan cosas, a sus papás de la muchacha le dan cosas, por ejemplo, estufa, su cama, tipo de cosas que le va a ocupar en su futuro, pues.
Okay. So when a young woman gets married in his pueblo, the gifts come in, including like a stove and a bed and other things that she'll need in her life as a married woman.
Mira, por ejemplo, aquí cuando uno se casa, pues es lo mismo que aquí, pues van con una banda de música también es igual.
Also in the weddings, it's like here he says, there's also here or there, there's usually a band playing music.
Y cuando se casa una persona allá, allá la gente, la costumbre es casi toda la mayoría, los familiares ahí o invitados, casi toma pues la cerveza en la ciudad.
Okay, and they invite like all the family and even like half the town or more, and everybody's drinking beer. Tomando cerveza.
No, por eso. No, por aquí.
But here's the band.
Y va cargando las cosas, no lo lleva en un carro. Por ejemplo, si le dan una estufa, por ejemplo, aquí como un ropero, aquí una estufa. Ahí no lleva en un camión, lo va cargando las familiares.
You carry them on. Remember how we saw the tump line and the human carriers? They still do this. They carry stoves. They carry, here's a ropero, a closet, a freestanding closet. Things like that they just carry on their backs.
Y aquí es una bailable también en mi pueblo, en mi pueblo se llama chilenos.
Okay, so in his town there is a dance that's depicted here at the top level, and it's called chilenos, people from Chile.
Por ejemplo, esos son hombres, pero allá en mi pueblo se dice de mujeres, es la costumbre de allá cada feria que hay.
Okay, so this is a festival where the men dress as women, and this is very common in his pueblo in various festivals.
Sí, pues que vienen, por ejemplo, aquí son los que están viendo las casitas, todo el río.
So this group here, these are people watching the dance. And down here you have little houses, and over here's a river in the Rio
Y
que.
también lo ponemos el río porque allá en mi pueblo hay río balsas y por eso ponemos el río pues.
So he lives near the Rio Balsas, is the name of it, and he likes to put it here because it's near his community. Ahí está lleno de peces.
Sí, y ahí está.
¿Comen peces?
Sí, ahí sí se come. Por ejemplo, agarramos con una, sí, ¿cómo se llama? Temata, en náhuatl se llama
Never
temata.
heard of that one. The nets that they use to fish for these fish in the river, they're so called using indigenous language terms.
Sí, por eso todo tipo, eso, y aquí son los que más o menos nos movemos pues de aquí, como ya vimos aquí en Oaxaca, y algunas personas que quieren de aquí de Oaxaca, y también pues lo pintamos con uno de nuestros costumbres.
Nuestras tradiciones más que nada.
¿Han cambiado los temas que pintan ustedes con el tiempo? ¿Han cambiado?
Nomás algunos, porque,
Sí,
pero...
Es que otros, por ejemplo, nos piden de otra forma, quieren otros diseños.
Yes. Okay, I asked her if the themes that they paint have changed over the years, and she says yes, partly based on what the buyers are asking for. Okay, so...
Cuando empezamos lo pintamos de varias cosas, pues, pero lo que vemos que se vende más, lo que la gente le gusta, pues, eso es lo que seguimos haciendo todavía.
So they figure out what sells best, and that's what they keep painting. Also, so that's another thing, you know, which
Mira,
is...
por ejemplo, este calendario antes lo hacíamos a mano, pero la verdad ya no es a mano, ese es impreso, porque la gente antes lo hacíamos a mano, pero llevaba más tiempo y la gente no quiere pagar, y por eso esta es la verdad para que les demos ese.
Telling you the truth here. They used to paint every detail of the Aztec calendar by hand with a sunstone, and now they use a stamp because it's quicker and cheaper. And he says it's very hard to get people to pay you what your labor is worth when you make one of these things, right? We can all imagine that, right? So they're bargaining them down, and it just got so they couldn't afford to paint this much detail for the amount that they would get for it. So this is a pavo real, turkey, and they paint these definitely by hand. There's no stamp involved in this. What else was I going to say? Oh yeah, and 2 quetzales. So they're working in the birds from Guatemala, the national bird of Guatemala, the quetzal. It was a part all through Mesoamerican history for the beautiful colored feathers that it has. But I just want, un momento, quisiera mostrarles el trabajo que yo pedí, que me hiciste. Okay, so talking about painting things that customers request. I got a bunch of images from Codices one year, and I said, Anita asked if she could paint these for me in a commissioned work. So that's what this is, and I just wanted to pass it around so you can see. But as I said, in the old days, it would have been a white base, and then the color on top of that, because the brown paper in the old days was something that covered, because it was just easier to paint on top of something white. Yeah.
How much do they sell that for?
Well, I was going to ask her. She charged me 200 pesos. So, like $13, $14, something like that. So I think that's not enough. So I'm going to tell her to charge you more. But the other thing I was thinking is that, each of these things could be made a bit bigger and they could be sold individually. And, here I am messing with tradition, right? By suggesting they paint something like returning to it, reviving an old tradition, if you will. But ¿quieres mencionar?
No, el papel ya lo saben todos. Ya le dijiste que nosotros compramos ahí, pero los dice cómo lo preparan.
Yeah, she wanted you to assure you that she doesn't do this normally. This is not what they do, and I think you could commission something like this, but that's not what she normally does. But she's not sure that the customers would buy it. She doesn't have any idea whether that would go over or not. So, I was thinking maybe she could make a few and I could pay her, and then we'd see if she sold them, great, and if she didn't, I would. I was wondering, también quise mostrarles otro ejemplo. que se hizo en un instituto de verano en Oregon. This was a summer institute we had in Oregon where a local Oaxacan woman came and taught us how to make graphic prints from linoleum blocks. We carved things like glyphs and so on, and then we stamped them. So I'm just going to pass this around as an example. It's two-sided. It's not supposed to be, but I haven't cut it apart. And then I want the paper that you each have a piece of just to play with. I just wanted to show you that I made a little something here to surprise Shannon. These are, this is like a story and pictures from Teotitlán del Valle. And either she can keep it or she can give it to Petra, but it's just an idea that I should, you can have your students just cut things out and glue them on, or paint things on, or you can, it also, this paper comes in multiple colors. I have some, I guess I have some at home, but anyway, while they're here, I want to switch back to them. Yes. ¿Quieres comprar? Ok, ya quieren empezar a comprar. Ajá, pueden esconder las cosas que han comprado. Pero a ver si hay algo más que quieren decir.
Por ejemplo, el papel ya lo saben cómo lo hacen. Por ejemplo, esto por ejemplo, es la cortina escalonada, pero este papel no afecta los árboles puestos, pero los árboles más es lo quitan poquito, pues lo que ya está seco. Y ya es al momento lo recogen y no puedes quitar, ya está, lo pones ahí y lo habrás bien más. Por ejemplo, aquí se ve que está manchado de
Okay, so he just wanted to say a little bit about the paper. He said that they buy it, they don't make it themselves. It's made in Puebla, so that's the state. If you go from Mexico City here by bus, you go from Puebla State. They make it up there. He says that it doesn't kill the tree to take the bark and make the paper. And they sometimes take like bits of bark that are falling off already, and it comes out sometimes very mottled, like it's a mishmash. It's pounded with salt and layered and glued together. At least in the old way, it used to be like one layer this way and one layer this way, but now this looks a little bit just sort of mashed together.
Por ejemplo, este color es natural. Por ejemplo, lo que tienes aquí de blanco, le ponen cloro. Es color natural.
Yeah, so this is the natural, and then this is the bleached, and then they dye them different colors, blue, yellow. This is the natural. So I'm just going to pass that around.
Por ejemplo, se ve está manchado en otras partes. Si lo ven, otro sale más oscuro y otro sale más oscuro.
Okay. He says sometimes the customers like this kind of model look, and sometimes they want, like they think it's a flaw. Like they think this is a flaw across here. But it's the nature of the paper making process. It's the way it turns out.
Y otra cosa que cuando si nosotros lo pintamos, porque otros no nos creen por la edad que tenemos, creen que no podemos.
Okay, Anita says that a lot of customers, they'll say, "Did you paint that?" And she'll say, "Yeah," and they'll say, "Oh no, you didn't. You're too young to know how to do that." So there's a lot of discounting of their ability.
Por eso nos enseñan un poquito de nuestro pueblo.
¿Cómo a qué edad empieza?
A los 3 años, porque mi niña ya puede, un barro ya lo puede cubrir.
Okay, so they begin learning to paint at 3 years old, and they have a little girl I got to meet the other night, and she already at that age she's not getting those años? Okay, she's 3, but she's starting to take a pottery pot and just cover it with solid color. So I guess they start with that, and then they start adding the little tiny details. If the pieces coming around, I think you can see the very fine lines. And I brought in some paintbrushes and paints, and she was saying, none of the brushes I have are as fine as hers. There's a pretty fine one right here. She said, no, I have to use a really tiny brush because of the very fine detail. These are the paints that they use though. And these are purchased from the Proveedora Escolar on the corner, kitty corner from us. So this is what they use, which is an acrylic. Yeah, it's acrylic. So I brought some here to loan out to somebody. I got brushes and paints I could loan out. You could take home. We can't paint in here. They freak out. But But you could play with it if you want to on the paper that I gave you, and also I have a few extra pieces if you kind of mess up and you need another one. Also, they sell this paper. It's pretty expensive, but they sell it over here in the Proveedora. But the brown paper that they have is much less expensive, so and they might be willing to sell you some brown paper.
Yes.
Están dispuestos a vender si quieren comprar el papel. Creo que van a comprar, sí, pero hay más.
Pero ahorita no traemos.
Ah, ok, no hay suficiente. Pero otro día.
Sí, otro día sí, pero ahorita no tenemos.
Okay, so they didn't bring the plain paper with them, but they will. If you find them on the street, they will sell you some plain paper another day if you want to try painting on the brown. Okay, ¿algo más o ya?
No, dice mi esposa si quiere hacer un pájaro para que lo vea si quiere lo que trabaja.
Aquí en el...
Pero allá no se siente,
Ah, no, aquí adentro no.
nomás con una pista.
Ajá.
¿Quieres? Pues no,
A ver, pues, pero nomás el pájaro no sí.
Okay, sí, claro.
Este, pero-
He wanted to draw something on the board. Oh.
Just por ejemplo, así.